Have you ever noticed this? The people who truly command attention are rarely the ones who talk the most in the room. They don't try to prove how smart they are. They don't boast about achievements. They don't argue just to win. They don't need validation from others. Yet when they enter a room, something changes. The pace slows down. The atmosphere shifts. People naturally begin to listen. Not because they are loud, but because they are grounded. This is what Stoicism calls quiet confidence, and it is irresistible. Most people believe confidence means expression, speaking up, stating opinions, reacting quickly, proving you are not inferior. But that isn't confidence. That is insecurity, dressed up to look respectable. Quiet confidence is different. It doesn't come from trying to impress. It comes from no longer needing to impress. You don't need to be liked. You don't need to be understood. You don't need to win every conversation, because inside you already possess what others are desperately seeking outside themselves: inner stability. Marcus Aurelius once wrote something simple, yet razor sharp. Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing against. It stands firm, and the raging of the sea falls still around it. No noise, no resistance, no display, just standing, unmoved. In today's world, where everyone is trying to speak louder, faster, and more, silence paired with self-command becomes a rare form of power, and because it is rare, it becomes irresistible. This video is not about teaching you how to look confident. It's not communication tricks. It's not influence tactics. This is a Stoic map for building quiet confidence from the ground up, through how you think, how you respond, and how you carry yourself in the world. If you've ever felt exhausted from proving yourself, tired of over-explaining, no longer interested in impressing anyone, then stay. Not to learn how to speak more, but to learn how to become so grounded that speaking becomes optional. Now, let's begin. Look closely. The person who talks the most in the room is rarely the most confident. The one who constantly interrupts, always has an opinion, always pushes back, always needs to show, I know, I'm right, I'm not less than anyone else, is usually not displaying strength. They are hiding uncertainty. Stoicism saw this clearly. Epictetus said, "If you seek approval from others, you hand over control of your life to them." It sounds simple, but looked at honestly, it's brutal. Because every time you feel the need to prove yourself, you're telling yourself this: if they don't approve of me, I am not okay. That isn't confidence. That is dependence. Notice the signs of loud confidence. Speaking quickly so no one cuts you off. Reacting immediately out of fear of appearing weak. Over-explaining to people who aren't truly listening. Appearing calm on the surface, while staying tense inside all of it comes from one root: the fear of being dismissed. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, don't let your need for respect turn you into someone who performs. The moment you perform, you lose freedom. Quiet confidence is the opposite. It doesn't rush. It doesn't react instantly. It doesn't need to occupy space. Because those with quiet confidence aren't afraid of being overlooked. They know their value doesn't live in noise. They don't enter conversations to win. They enter with presence. And that presence alone is enough to make others adjust their behavior. Think of the people you genuinely respect. Chances are they speak less, but at the right moment, don't over-explain, don't become defensive when misunderstood, don't try to correct everyone else's thinking, not because they lack conviction, but because they don't need to prove their convictions to exist. This is a critical Stoic shift. The weak must react to protect their ego. The strong choose silence because they are not threatened. This silence is not avoidance, not fear, not submission. It is control. Control over impulses, control over ego, control over the need to be seen. And here's the paradox. The less you try to impress, the more noticeable you become. The less you compete for attention, the more people wonder, why is this person so calm? Quiet confidence doesn't say, look at me. It says, I don't need you to look. But if you do, you'll see someone who doesn't waver. That's why quiet confidence creates such a strange pull. Not because it tries to attract, but because it doesn't need to. And in a world full of people desperate for validation, the one who needs nothing becomes the most powerful, in the best sense of the word. There is a truth very few people want to face. The need to prove yourself doesn't come from strength. It comes from the fear of being judged. When you have to say, you're capable, others quietly wonder, why do you need to say it? When you emphasize status, achievements, experience, you are building a fence to protect something inside that isn't fully stable yet. Stoicism doesn't reject success, but it is deeply suspicious of tying your identity to it. Seneca warned, those who boast about strength are often afraid of being exposed as weak. The truly strong don't need others to know they're strong. They let their actions, consistency, and presence speak. Notice the difference. The weak argue the moment they're questioned, over-explain to defend themselves, try to control how others perceive them. The strong do not. They understand one thing clearly. You cannot control how others judge you, but you can control how you stand your ground. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, let others think whatever they want. Your task is to live rightly. Not to live rightly so you'll be praised, but to live rightly so you never betray yourself. Quiet confidence is built right here. When you no longer need to prove yourself, you are no longer pulled into meaningless battles. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need others to agree with you. You don't need to clarify every misunderstanding. Because you understand this truth. Not every misunderstanding is worth correcting. Some people don't want to understand, only want to react, only want to win. And someone with quiet confidence will never lower themselves to play that game. They choose to step back, not because they lost, but because it isn't worth the cost. This is a clear sign of inner strength. You choose where your energy goes. You don't waste it on fragile egos, endless arguments with no outcome, people who only feel safe by pulling you down. You reserve that energy for the quiet work of building, personal discipline, real competence, a solid character. Quiet confidence doesn't need the spotlight. It grows in the dark, in mornings no one sees, in decisions no one applauds, in doing what's right even when no one is watching. And then one day, others begin to feel it, without you saying a word. They can't explain exactly why, but they respect you, not because you demand respect, but because you don't need it to survive. That's the paradox of quiet confidence. The less you need to prove, the more trustworthy you become. The less you show off, the more weight your presence carries. And from here, we must move to the next truth. Quiet confidence is not a personality trait. It's the result of silent discipline, repeated every day. Quiet confidence doesn't appear because you start thinking more positively. It doesn't come from reading a few inspirational quotes. It is built through actions no one sees and no one praises. Stoicism calls this discipline of the self. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations for publication. He wrote to remind himself, daily, how he must live when no one was watching. That is the foundation of quiet confidence. You begin to trust yourself not because others believe in you, but because you've kept promises to yourself over and over again. Look at the structure of real confidence. You say you'll wake up early? You do? You say you'll train? You train? You say you'll stay silent when provoked? You stay silent. Perfection isn't required. Consistency is. Every time you do the right thing without being forced, your brain records a message. I am someone I can rely on. And when you trust yourself, you no longer need validation from others. This is where quiet confidence grows. On the other hand, every time you say things you don't do, react emotionally, break your principles just to be accepted, you quietly teach yourself that you cannot depend on yourself. That's why many people speak beautifully, yet feel hollow. They don't lack knowledge, they lack internal proof. Seneca once said, "Self-respect doesn't come from praise, but from knowing you have lived rightly." Quiet confidence is the natural result of an inner life that is ordered. You don't need to perform it. Others sense it. In the way you walk without rushing, listen without interrupting, respond with a pause. Don't rush to fill silence. Your silence is not empty, it has depth, because inside you there is no chaos. This is a core, Stoic principle. The person who controls himself is not controlled by circumstances. When you are not dragged by circumstances, you don't need to strain to look strong. Your strength is not in intensity, but in stability. And this leads to something interesting. Someone with quiet confidence doesn't need to dominate the room. Yet very quickly, the rhythm of the room begins to adjust to them. Not because they demand it, but because steadiness is contagious. Still, this is only the surface. There is a deeper layer that few people talk about. Quiet confidence is tested most when you are misunderstood, dismissed, or deliberately provoked. And how you respond in those moments reveals whether you are performing strength or truly grounded. There is a moment when every Stoic philosophy is tested. Not when things go smoothly, but when you are looked down on, misunderstood, intentionally provoked. This is when the ego starts screaming. You have to say something. You have to fight back. If you don't, they'll think you're weak. And most people lose right there. They react quickly, not because they are strong, but because they cannot tolerate having their ego touched. Stoicism calls this loss of inner command. Epictetus said it plainly. No one insults you unless you allow them to. This isn't about others. It's about control over your response. Someone with quiet confidence doesn't deny emotion. They delay action. Between stimulus and response, they create space. And inside that space, they choose. They ask themselves, is this worth my energy? Am I protecting truth or just my ego? If I stay silent, do I truly lose anything? Most of the time, the answer is no. Silence here is not submission. It's filtration. You don't throw gold into the mud just to prove it shines. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to become like them." Someone with quiet confidence understands this. When you react in anger, you let someone else decide who you become in that moment. And they never give that power away. They let others talk, reveal their shallowness, expose their lack of control, while they remain calm. That calm confuses people because they expected a reaction. They wanted confrontation. They needed you to lose composure so they could feel powerful, but you deny them that. And that is a form of power without words. Quiet confidence doesn't need to win every battle. It simply chooses the ones worth standing for. And when it does stand up, it doesn't shout. It speaks briefly, clearly, decisively. No long explanations, no circular arguments, no lowering itself to the same level. Because someone who has mastered themselves doesn't need emotional displays to prove it. But be careful. Silence is not always the right answer. And Stoicism does not teach you to become invisible. Quiet confidence knows when to remain silent and when to speak with weight. The real question is, how do you know which moment is which? This is the line many people misunderstand. And if you don't understand it, you fall into one of two extremes: reacting too much, or staying silent out of fear. In the next part, we'll talk about the boundary of quiet confidence, when silence is strength, and when silence becomes self-betrayal. Stoicism doesn't teach you to swallow everything. It teaches you to choose the right battles. Quiet confidence does not mean you are always silent. It means you don't speak unless your words have value. There is a subtle but crucial difference between silence born of strength and silence born of fear. Silence from fear feels like tightness in the chest, words trapped inside, lingering discomfort afterward. Silence from strength feels different. You are calm. You feel no guilt. You don't need to explain yourself later. Marcus Aurelius asked himself daily, "Is this aligned with my principles?" Not, "What will others think?" That is the standard. When your words protect a core value, establish a clear boundary, stop ongoing disrespect, then silence is no longer virtuous. It is wrong. And quiet confidence understands this. They don't speak from emotion. They speak with clarity. No long explanations. No apologizing for having boundaries. No raised voice to dominate. They say only what needs to be said. Once. For example, "I don't accept being spoken to this way. If this continues, I will step away." This conversation ends here. Short, calm, no threats, no pleading. The weight comes from one thing. They are willing to walk away if the boundary is crossed. Seneca said, "No one can insult you if you do not remain where they do it." Quiet confidence doesn't try to fix people. It adjusts its position. And this is what makes it formidable. They don't argue about boundaries. They act on them. The weak talk endlessly about how they deserve respect. The strong live in a way that leaves disrespect with nowhere to stand. Quiet confidence never says, "I have value." Their value is visible in what they allow access to, what they quietly walk away from, what principles they refuse to trade for acceptance. This is where many people struggle, because quiet confidence comes with a cost. Some people will not like you, not because you did something wrong, but because you are no longer easy to control. Stoicism accepts this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If doing what is right displeases someone, that is not my fault." Quiet confidence does not seek popularity. It seeks alignment with itself. And once you are aligned, you don't speak excessively. Your presence speaks for you. In the next part, we'll explore the deeper reason why quiet confidence is so magnetic, even when you're not trying to impress anyone. Quiet confidence does not try to attract, and that is exactly why it cannot be ignored. People are drawn to what they cannot easily read. Those who talk too much reveal everything. There is no depth left, no space. Quiet confidence is different. It leaves space. And the human mind instinctively fills that space. Stoicism understands this well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Do not expose your entire inner life." Not to hide, but to preserve weight for words and actions. Those with quiet confidence don't tell their whole story. Don't explain every decision. Don't try to make everyone understand. And that restraint creates curiosity. People begin to wonder, what is this person thinking? Why aren't they reacting? How are they so calm? Attraction doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you don't need to say. There is another, deeper layer. Quiet confidence does not demand, not attention, not recognition, not agreement. And human psychology responds powerfully to that absence of need, because what does not need you often makes you want to move closer. Those who crave validation drain others. Those who need nothing cause others to adjust their behavior. This is the Stoic paradox. When you don't seek power, you begin to have it. Quiet confidence also creates safety, not soft safety, but stability. Others sense that. You are not easily provoked. You don't react impulsively. You don't bend with the crowd around you. They don't need to stay guarded. And in a world full of emotional volatility, stability becomes rare. Seneca said, "A calm person brings calm to others." That is why quiet confidence doesn't chase. It attracts naturally. But understand this clearly. Quiet confidence is not a strategy to impress others. If you use it as a tactic, it loses its power immediately. Because people can feel effort. Quiet confidence exists only when you truly don't need. To win every conversation, to be understood by everyone, to prove you are special, and at that moment, you become exactly that. In the next part, we'll talk about specific habits that build quiet confidence in everyday life. Not through theory, but through action. Quiet confidence is not built in dramatic moments. It is created through small choices, repeated daily. No one wakes up suddenly unshakable. They train. And Stoicism always begins by training the inner world before engaging the outer one. The first habit. 1. Delay your reaction. An insecure person reacts immediately to relieve tension. A person with quiet confidence can tolerate discomfort for a few seconds. They don't rush to reply to messages. They don't rush to argue. They don't rush to fill silence. That pause is where control returns to you. Epictetus taught, "Let the first impression pass before you act." Second habit. 2. Speak less than you could, not because you have nothing to say, but because you choose. Carefully. You don't express every thought. You speak only what is necessary. Every time you hold back an unnecessary word, you strengthen inner discipline. Quiet confidence is heard most clearly when it doesn't speak too much. Third habit. 3. Keep promises to yourself. Not grand promises. Small ones. Waking up on time. Finishing what you said you would do. Not breaking principles for convenience. Each time you keep your word, you reinforce the foundation of self-respect. You don't need others to trust you. You trust yourself. Fourth habit. 4. Don't explain when it's unnecessary. Over-explaining is often a sign of insecurity. Quiet confidence says what needs to be said and lets it stand. If others misunderstand you and it doesn't affect your core values, you let it pass. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Not everything that is true needs to be spoken." Fifth habit, 5. Train presence. Wherever you are fully there, not distracted, not trying to impress, not scanning for others' reactions. Full presence creates a very different kind of energy. Others feel it before they understand it intellectually. Quiet confidence is not in posture or eye contact. It lives in a mind that is not scattered. And remember, no one notices quiet confidence immediately. But over time, people begin to listen to you more, respect your boundaries, adjust how they speak to you, not because you demand it, but because you are no longer easily pulled off center. However, there is a major trap many people fall into when they begin to change. They become cold and distant, thinking that this is quiet confidence. That is a dangerous misunderstanding. In the next part, we will clarify this clearly. How quiet confidence is different from coldness, and how to maintain depth without losing your humanity. Many people misunderstand this. They think that to have quiet confidence, you must become distant, barely speak, and act like you don't need anyone. That is not strength. That is defense. Stoicism does not teach you to freeze your emotions. It teaches you not to be ruled by them. There is a profound difference between a calm person and someone who has isolated themselves. A cold person uses silence to avoid cuts connection out of fear of being hurt, keeps distance because they are afraid to open up. A person with quiet confidence is different. They truly listen, speak little but sincerely, are present without invading. Their silence has warmth. Seneca said, "The wise person does not close the doors of the heart. They simply choose who may enter." Quiet confidence does not shut the world out. It filters. They don't open up to everyone. But when they do, they don't perform. They don't create an image. They don't try to appear mysterious. They don't need the upper hand. Their steadiness makes others feel respected, heard, not judged. Here is what very few people notice. Quiet confidence doesn't make others feel smaller. It makes them calmer in your presence. An insecure person tightens the atmosphere. A grounded person slows it down. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the rock against which the waves break and settle." Not to appear superior, but to avoid harming anyone while you remain firm. Quiet confidence also expresses emotion, but without drama, no exaggeration, no emotional dumping. They speak what they think, when it matters, to the right person, no more, no less. And because of that, their words carry weight. A cold person needs distance to feel safe. A person with quiet confidence becomes a place of safety for others. That is the core difference. But to reach this level, you must do something very difficult. Be comfortable with yourself when there is no attention. Not trying to impress. Not trying to be liked. Not trying to be special. And this is the greatest challenge in a world that is constantly loud. In the next part, we come to the final test of quiet confidence. Who are you when no one is watching? This is the question Stoicism always asks, not to pressure you, but to strip away illusion. Who are you when no eyes are on you? When no one praises you? When no one opposes you? Quiet confidence is decided in those moments, when you do what is right even when no one notices. Hold your principles even when no one knows. Refuse to compromise even when no one pressures you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Live as if everything you do were being watched, even when no one is." Not to create fear, but to preserve self-respect. Those who are confident only with an audience collapse when the audience leaves. Those with quiet confidence do not change much when the room is empty, because the most important room is the one inside them. They don't need witnesses to live correctly. They don't need feedback to feel whole. And that is what creates a rare kind of steadiness. Be honest with yourself. Most of what we do is influenced by the need for recognition, comparison, the fear of being overlooked. Stoicism does not deny this. It simply asks, do you allow these things to run your life? Quiet confidence appears when the answer is no, not because you rise above being human, but because you have trained yourself long enough to stop chasing every small reaction. You work because it is right. You stay silent because it is necessary. You speak because it matters, not because of who is watching. And then something interesting happens. When you no longer live to be seen, you begin to be seen naturally. Not because you try, but because people always sense truth, even if they can't explain it. Quiet confidence does not make you stand out immediately, but over time, it makes you difficult to replace. Not loud, not performative, but enduring. And that is a kind of strength that needs no promotion. We are coming to the end. But before we close, there is one final reminder. Not to inspire you, but to keep you awake. In the next part comes the conclusion and invitation. Not to admire quiet confidence, but to begin living it. Quiet confidence is not something you switch on when needed. It is what you become after many days of choosing right over easy, choosing silence over reaction, choosing discipline over emotion. It won't make you more famous, but it will make you stop needing fame. It won't make everyone like you, but those who stay will truly respect you. Stoicism does not promise an easy life. It promises inner strength, steady enough that life cannot drag you around. Marcus Aurelius never tried to impress. Seneca did not live to be liked. Epictetus did not seek approval. Yet thousands of years later, people still listen to them. Not because they were loud, but because they stood firm in silence. Quiet confidence does not say, "Look at me." It says, "I am fine, whether you look or not." And that is why it is irresistible. If you've listened this far, perhaps you are no longer searching for loud confidence. Perhaps you're tired of having to prove yourself, having to react, having to brace yourself just to avoid being dismissed. If so, you are on the right path. Quiet confidence does not begin by changing the world. It begins by holding yourself steady in the smallest moments. And if what you've just heard made you pause, reflect, or reconsider how you respond to life, tap like to support this video. Subscribe to Stoic Crowned Silence to continue building inner strength, quiet but unshakable. And leave a comment below. What moment in your life made you realize that silence can be a form of power? We read every comment, and each one is a person choosing to live deeper in a world that is far too loud. Until we meet again, in the next silence of Stoic Crowned Silence.